Welcome to northern Sweden. My friend Alex and I have travelled all the way from Scotland to hike one of the most remote trails in Europe. Over the next 10 days, we'll hike through forests, cross raging rivers, and over mountains. We'll experience the good weather and the not so good weather. Join us as we hike the 140-kilometer Padjelanta Trail. Morning folks, day 6 and a bit of a soggy one today. Been raining ever since we got up at the cabin, and it's kind of flicking between heavy downpours and just steady drizzle. We've got rain jackets and rucksack covers, so yeah, we're just doing the first. There's a bit of a steep haul out of the village there to get onto it's like a bit of a plateau, and then we're down into the sort of next bay of this massive lake really. We got the weather forecast for the next 3 days and it's just rain, slightly lighter rain and then slightly heavier rain, but just rain. We'll carry on, it's all part of it. We've been lucky so far with the weather, so can't really complain. The day ended up being so wet that I packed the main camera safely away and just used the GoPro. It wasn't the type of day to hang around, so we got our heads down and kept moving as quickly as possible. So, I don't know if you'll even be able to hear this. There's been a lot of moisture in this GoPro mic, so it might be all garbled, but the rain is pretty brutal. It got heavy enough the last time I spoke to you, it just hasn't let up. There's a bit of wind with it as well. Yeah, it's pretty miserable. Feels a bit like home. So we've actually got sight of the next group of cabins in the Sami village. I think with the weather we've just kind of ploughed on through it and done quite a good bit of distance. It's not even lunchtime yet and we've almost done the 10k of this section. I think we're going to get down to the huts, see if we can get a bit of shelter, have some food and just figure out what we're going to do. We made it down to the cabins and decided pretty quickly that we'd had enough for today. So we booked ourselves a couple of beds for the night and saw our first dog in over a week. We made some lunch and spent the rest of the day in the warm cabin drying out all of our gear. Not much to report really. We got to the cabin by 1:30, I think it was, and we've just been hiding in there ever since. The weather's been absolutely disgusting. Just wind and rain hasn't let up. So yeah, we've just been hiding, keeping warm, trying to dry out some stuff. We're sharing our cabin with one other person, nice woman from Germany actually. So obviously I haven't been filming in the cabin. There's not really much to show you, to be honest. We're just hunkering down. It's about 8 o'clock now and I've just come across to the main hut, which has the temperature and it's saying 7.6. So it's chilly enough, and tomorrow is supposed to be wet again and colder. The wind is switching from more of a westerly to a northerly, so that's going to be interesting. We need to go up and over a bit of a hill too. It's going to be windy, so not really looking forward to tomorrow. I think it's going to be a bit of an adventure again, but well, we did get some smoked cured reindeer, which I haven't actually had since I lived in Finnish Lapland, and it's still as delicious as I remember, so that was nice. And we met some of the local dogs too, so it hasn't been all bad, but yeah, just a bit of feels like a bit of a lost day, to be honest, because we were making good progress. But anyway, I'll leave it there and hopefully I'll see you in the morning for day 7. Day 7. We finally left the cabin. It was just after 10. We waited and waited for the weather to subside, and it is slightly lighter, believe it or not, but it was pretty relentless all morning, so we held off and held off, but eventually we just had to bite the bullet and go. So full waterproofs again. We did manage to get everything dry in the cabin last night, so that's a bonus at least, but it keeps it interesting. After around 4 kilometers, we came to a major river crossing, and the impact of 2 days of constant heavy rain was very clear to see. It was then time to slog up and over the hill whilst enjoying yet more wind and rain. We eventually made it across the plateau and down the other side, hiking the last few kilometers to our camp spot for the evening beside yet another raging river. Well, we made it to our destination for today. We got lucky in the end. After coming down the other side of the hill, the rain actually stopped, and then we had quite a cold, dry wind, which kind of dried all our jackets and everything else out mostly, and we were able to pitch in the dry as well. And we got here about, I think it was about 3 o'clock, and we've just been sort of hanging out in our tents, keeping dry, keeping warm. It's still pretty windy, and you can probably hear the noise from the river behind me as well. Pretty epic camping spot by a very full river that's just raging at the moment. Just got here, had a hot drink, some hot food, you know, just warmed up, changed clothes, put some layers on. It's about 6 or 7 degrees at the moment, so it's chilly if you're not careful, you know. It's 8 o'clock in the evening just now. I've had my dinner. I'm probably just going to make a hot chocolate and head to bed early. I found we've been sort of getting to camps at the same time, sort of eating, having that evening time, and then sort of falling asleep about like 8 o'clock almost. But it's nice because you get that long rest and then you're refreshed and ready to go the next day. Tomorrow, we did get the forecast through on Alex's GPS, her InReach, but it keeps chopping and changing. Tomorrow was supposed to be dry, and then the updated forecast was for rain all day. So I think we just have to plan for wet days, and if they're not, then it's a bonus. But I'll leave it there for now, and hopefully I'll see you tomorrow for day 8. We packed up as usual, and despite Alex's best efforts to end the day incredibly early, okay, we set off for day 8. After just a few hundred meters, we came to the cabins, which were officially the end of yesterday's section. Unfortunately, the shop was closed, but we took advantage of the facilities before heading up the next hill. Morning folks, day 8, and a much calmer morning this morning, especially compared to yesterday. It's so still, it's very overcast. There was a few light showers last night, but it was dry this morning and we got to pack up dry. Again, it's just such a bonus to not have to unpack a wet tent later on. The river was still really high, and you could see yesterday it was a real grey colour. It was just full of all the silt that it was churning up. And this morning it had gone down by maybe half a metre, and you could see on some of the rocks just a thick layer of silt that had been deposited as the water dropped down. So this section is 23 kilometres long, but we've decided to do it over 2 days just because, you know, we're taking it easy. So there should be a camping spot kind of halfway along, so that's what we're aiming for today. So we just came across probably one of the most uninteresting parts of the trail. The weather didn't help, you know, lots of low cloud and mist, making it quite chilly as well actually. Chilly and damp. But we've kind of descended down from the worst of the mist now, and the views are starting to open out, and we can see right up this kind of river system that we're going to be walking along, and probably where we're going to camp as well, I think, just in the distance. But we're about halfway, or a little over halfway, and the walking's quite good, and the rain's mostly stayed off, so yeah, can't complain. Despite the Sami claim that reindeer herding increases biodiversity, it was very clear to us that it does not. After spending the last 2 days hiking through the core grazing area, it was nice to see the return of willow scrub and trees now that we were back outside of it. This type of rhetoric very much had echoes of the sporting estate claims back home in Scotland. We soon started to see our camp spot for the night on a small island in the river that marked a crossing between the Padjelanta Trail and the Arctic Trail, a much longer route than ours that crosses the borders of Norway, Sweden and Finland. Well, that's us for day 8. We've come to this beautiful camp location on I guess it's a series of islands connected by bridges, and there's a few sort of camp spots. It's quite popular. There's actually 2 or 3 other tents pitched beside us as well, so I've kind of come round the corner a little bit and hidden in the woodland to film this so I'm not disturbing people. But yeah, another, is it 11.5 kilometers done today, so we're almost exactly halfway through that longer section that I talked about earlier. So we should have another 11.5 to finish it tomorrow, and then where we're aiming to camp is a little bit further, so maybe 12.5, 13 kilometers tomorrow. But I think we're both feeling it a little bit now. You know, we've been walking for 8 days, and I mean, I feel fine, got no injuries, but just feeling a little bit kind of background tired. And even though we only did the 11.5 today, we were both like, yeah, that's enough. we'll just pitch. But that's just the way it goes. You know, we planned for 10 days, so there's no harm in that. We've got enough food, we've got enough time, so we can sort of take it easy if we want to, you know. Anyway, there's not going to be much to film. It's 6 o'clock in the evening now. Gonna have dinner and probably go to bed early again, so nothing exciting. But I'll see you tomorrow for day 9. The following morning we woke up to yet another breezy day, and it was back across the same bridge as the previous day to continue on further down the valley. Morning folks, day 9, another kind of showery, blustery day. It was quite wet through the night, but we got a bit of a window this morning, so again we got packed up mostly dry. The tents were a bit damp, but can't complain with that compared to what the forecast was saying. Slept pretty well, to be honest. Went to bed quite early again, and there was another willow grouse party right outside the tent, and one was making such a weird noise. I honestly thought I was going to open the tent and see like a reindeer or a young elk or something, but no, it was just willow grouse chicks, and one of them even poked its head into the front of the tent. That's how close they were. And then they went back to making the, you know, go back, like our red grouse. The trail took us up and over many alluvial deposits. These are mounds of loose silt, sand and gravel that were deposited by the active river system or possible historic glacial activity. The further we travelled from the core reindeer herding areas, the more extensive the mountain birch woodland became. And after another 4 kilometres, we made it to the next set of cabins, stocked up on chocolate and crisps, then continued on for another kilometre to our camp spot for the evening. In the section after the cabins, we noticed a lot of birch trees were dead. This is apparently caused by outbreaks of the autumnal moth. In bad years, the caterpillars of the moth cause severe defoliation and significant tree mortality. Well, last camp of the trip, and we managed to find a pretty nice spot in this sort of section of mountain birch woodland. The weather overall today was actually quite dry, very windy with a few very light showers, but mostly dry, so we were quite lucky. And we set up camp here by the river, and about an hour later it just started chucking it down, and it's been raining for about 2-3 hours, like non-stop. And we finally got a break, so I popped out to record this. But the location we're in at the moment is, so we're between sort of two major rivers, and in the middle here is actually Sarek National Park, again just like a tiny little corner of it, and to the west is Padjelanta, where we've just come from, and to the east, where we'll be heading tomorrow, is a third national park, which I'm not going to try and pronounce. It's Stora something. I'll put it up on the screen. And the last day of the hike is going to be all within that third national park. But yeah, the reason this is the last camp is tomorrow at the end of the day we're hoping to get the boat back to Woodsman, and we'll be staying in the mountain station there. So yeah, the last tent camp of the trip. And to be honest, I'm a little bit sad, but also a little bit ready to finish this trail. You know, it's been a full 10 days completely disconnected from the world, which has been good, but it feels a bit strange as well. I think it's time to sort of reconnect and see what's going on. I mean, there could have been an absolute global meltdown, and we just wouldn't know yet. So it'll be interesting once we reconnect. Maybe a bit overwhelming as well, to be honest. But yeah, it is what it is. But it looks like the rain's about to come in again. It's quite late now. I'm ready for bed. It's nearly 9 o'clock, I think. So I'll leave it there, and we'll see you tomorrow for the final and 10th day. Morning folks, day 10, the final day. It's quite a bright, fresh morning, to be honest. Almost feeling a bit autumnal. It's got that crispness in the air, a bit damp and chilly, but overall quite dry. It rained a lot overnight, but we got to pack up dry again, which is good. We've been quite lucky with that, I think. But yeah, we got about 14, just over 14 kilometers to the boat today. It's about 13 to the next cabin, and then the boat's just a little bit after that, so we've got plenty of time. The boat's not until 6:30, I think, so we'll just take it easy and enjoy this last day. and this new national park, of course, the third run of the trip, and just see what the final day brings. Right, it's about 2 o'clock now. We just stopped for a spot of lunch after that pretty epic river crossing, which was definitely a highlight of the trip, I think. And there's a mountain just behind me, Aka I think it's called, and it has a few glaciers on it, and the cloud lifted just enough whilst we were eating lunch to see the bottom half of the glacier. So that was pretty cool as well. But yeah, we've got time to kill. Like I say, the boat is 6:30 and we're about 4 kilometers away now, so we're just having quite an easy, relaxed stroll to the end. Well guys, that's it, the end of the trail. Just under 140 kilometers hiked over 10 days. We're just waiting at the floating pier now for the boat, which is just behind me, and it'll take us across the water. I don't know if you can just see in the camera, there's a place called Woodsman just on the other side, and we'll be staying in the sort of mountain hostel over there before we get all the buses and trains all the way back to Stockholm tomorrow. But if you stuck around this long, then I appreciate it. It's been a really great trip, a lot of stuff to process, but I hope you enjoyed following along too, and yeah, hopefully see you on the next one.